Hello, friends. What do you think of when you hear fast food? Golden arches? Pizza on the go? Well, the Romans had their own version 2,000 years ago, Thermopolia. These bustling little shops were the ancient world's answer to grabbing a quick bite. And for many Romans, they weren't just convenient, they were essential. Picture it, the city of Rome, alive with the noise of carts, vendors, and gossip spilling from taverns. Not everyone had a kitchen at home, especially the poor, who lived in cramped apartments called insulae. Cooking inside was risky. One stray ember could set an entire block ablaze. So when hunger struck, people poured into the streets, and there, on nearly every corner, the glow of a thermopolium beckoned. What was it like? Imagine walking up to a counter built of stone, its surface inlaid with terracotta jars called dolia. Each jar held something delicious. Stewed beans, roasted meats, spiced wine, lentils simmered in broth. The smells alone could pull you in. For a few copper coins, you could fill your stomach with hot food, served quickly and eaten on the spot. Rome's fast food wasn't junk. It was hearty, flavorful, and deeply communal. And the Thermopolia weren't just for eating. They were hubs of daily life. People crowded inside not only to fill their bowls, but to fill their ears with gossip, wagers, and arguments about politics or gladiators. The counter became a stage where senators, slaves, merchants, and beggars brushed shoulders. Hunger, after all, is the great equalizer. Archaeology gives us an intimate look at these places. In Pompeii, frozen in time by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, over 80 Thermopolia have been uncovered. Their painted walls are still vibrant, frescoes of ducks, chickens, jars of wine, even mythological scenes. They weren't just eateries, they advertised their menus with art. Imagine ordering stew beneath a painting of Hercules. But beyond their charm, Thermopolia tell us something deeper about Roman society. They reveal a city where daily survival often depended on public spaces. Cooking, eating, and socializing spilled out of the private home into the streets. The Romans built aqueducts for water, amphitheaters for entertainment, and Thermopolia for hunger. Infrastructure, in every sense, kept the empire alive. Of course, there was a class divide. The rich dined in villas, reclining on couches, feasting on exotic dishes like flamingo tongues or oysters from distant coasts. But the average Roman? He leaned against a Thermopolium counter, spooning down lentil stew. For him, it wasn't luxury, it was life. There's also something oddly modern about it. Think about it. Standing at a counter, exchanging a coin, grabbing food quickly, and maybe chatting with strangers before heading off again. Doesn't that sound familiar? Starbucks, street stalls, diners, they all echo the same rhythm. The Thermopolium was a forerunner of our fast food culture, proof that the human craving for convenience, warmth, and community hasn't changed. But there's another side to this. Some moralists in Rome frowned upon Thermopolia. Philosophers and satirists sneered that such places bred laziness, gossip, and indulgence. Eating out was seen by some as the mark of poverty or weak character. Why couldn't people cook for themselves? But of course, most couldn't. The criticism says less about the food and more about the eternal divide between elite judgment and common survival. Still, Thermopolia endured. They weren't just poor food. They were the heartbeat of neighborhoods, places where culture simmered as much as stew, where laughter and arguments mingled with the scent of wine and garlic, where ordinary Romans, forgotten in history books, found nourishment and community. And perhaps that's the most beautiful lesson here. Civilizations are not remembered only by their emperors and monuments, but by the everyday lives of their people. A Thermopolium counter, worn smooth by countless hands, speaks as loudly as Trajan's Column or the Colosseum. It whispers, here, life was lived. Here, people ate, joked, loved, and argued. Here, the empire was human.